entered my 40s in a very quiet way. No noisy midlife crisis. No buying a sports car. No quitting my job. No affairs. Just one morning, waking up, standing in front of the bathroom mirror, I saw the fine wrinkles at the corners of my eyes, and a very clear feeling.
I'm tired.
Not tired from lack of sleep, but tired from straining for too long to be someone okay. Noah noticed it first. He was always the one to see the smallest changes in me. From the way I sighed longer when taking off my coat, to how I started sitting still staring at the ceiling instead of turning on the TV like before. You okay? Noah asked one evening, as we sat eating dinner in our small kitchen in suburban Seattle. I was about to say, fine, but my mouth opened, and the truth dropped onto the table like a metal spoon.
I'm tired.
Noah looked up, said nothing, didn't comfort right away, just looked at me. The look of someone who's been by my side for over 20 years, and knew that sentence wasn't just a complaint. What kind of tired? He asked. I don't know, I said honestly. Like, everything's in the right place. Work's fine. House is fine. We're fine. But I don't feel light anymore. Noah set down his chopsticks. Like living on backup battery? I chuckled softly. Yeah, and I don't know where the charger is. We're not young anymore. We don't talk in glittering dreams. We talk in bills, insurance, back pain, and the question, do we have the strength to keep going like this for another 20 years? Noah still works in media. I switched to mid-level management at a big coffee chain. My job isn't bad, but it erodes me bit by bit. Endless emails. Meetings piling up. Small decisions repeated every day. Some nights I come home very late. Noah's already asleep. I lie down next to him, careful to the point of being ridiculous. Afraid to wake him, but also afraid that if I don't touch him, I'll feel lonely even when beside my lover. Once, I whispered in the darkness. Noah. He mumbled. What? If one day I can't do this anymore, are you scared? Noah opened his eyes, turned to look at me. His gaze was still the same warm, but unflinching. Yeah, scared, Noah said. But I'm more scared if you keep going until you break. That sentence hurt my chest in a very adult way, not sharp, but dull. Midlife doesn't arrive with a knock on the door. It sits down on the sofa, drinks your coffee, and asks, how much longer can you take it? I started forgetting small things. Forgetting to reply to messages. Forgetting lunch. Even forgetting to kiss Noah before leaving for work. A habit I'd never missed before. One morning, Noah held my hand back at the door. Wait, he said. I turned around. Noah kissed me. Not rushed. Not deep. Just enough to remind me where I was. You don't have to disappear to fulfill responsibilities, Noah said. I'm still here. I nodded. But inside, I knew. Being here wasn't as simple as before. Some nights, I lay next to Noah and thought about my 20-year-old self. The student who was once scared, who loved as if letting go would make the world collapse. Now, I no longer fear losing Noah in that way. I fear losing myself. And that's much scarier. One Friday evening, Noah suggested, this weekend, let's go somewhere. Not far. Just get out of this daily rhythm a bit. I was about to refuse. Work unfinished. Emails unanswered. Next week's schedule packed. But then I heard myself say, yeah. We drove to the Oregon coast. Gray sky, cold wind. We walked along the beach, jackets zipped up high. Not much talking. Just listening to the waves and shoes crunching on wet sand. Do you remember when we were young? Noah asked. Yeah, I replied. But I don't want to go back. Noah looked at me. Me neither. I stopped, turned to him. But I want to know how we'll keep going. Noah took my hand. His hand was warm, firm. The hand of someone who's chosen to stay through many versions of me. Slower, Noah said. More real. And kinder to ourselves. I took a deep breath. For the first time in a long while, I felt my chest open a little. Not because everything was okay, but because I no longer had to pretend I wasn't tired. Midlife isn't the end of love. It's when love has to learn to support two people who've carried too many years. And I started to understand. If I want to keep going with Noah, I can't just survive. I have to learn how to rest. The beach trip didn't solve anything immediately. It didn't make me young again. Didn't make work disappear. Didn't erase the fatigue deep in my bones. But when we returned to Seattle, one thing had changed, very small, but enough for me to notice. I no longer pretended to be okay. And it turned out that was harder than I thought. One Monday morning, during a meeting, dizziness hit me. The room just tilted a little, as if someone gently pushed the world off its axis. "I'm sorry," I said, standing up. "I need to step out for a bit." I went to the bathroom, braced my hands on the sink, looked at my face. Paler than usual, eyes sunken. 43 years old, I thought. And the body starts protesting. The doctor called it prolonged exhaustion, not clinical depression.
No dangerous pathology.
Just too many years putting myself in endurance mode. "You need to rest," the doctor said. "Not a weekend. Real rest." I nodded. But in my head, only a long list of things I couldn't rest from appeared. That evening I told Noah. He wasn't surprised. Just exhaled. A breath as if he'd been waiting for this sentence for a long time. "You could take temporary leave," Noah said. "Or reduce hours." "Not that easy," I replied. "You know that." Noah looked at me. "I know. But I also know if you keep going, the cost will be higher." We argued that night. Not loud.
No slamming doors.
Just two middle-aged men sitting across from each other. Both tired. Both scared in their own ways. "I don't want to become a burden," I said. Noah frowned. "You're not a burden. You're the person I love. But if I can't do as much as before, then we'll do it differently," Noah interrupted. "Love isn't a productivity contract." That sentence silenced me. I'd gotten used to being useful. Used to proving my worth by how much I could endure. That night, we lay with our backs to each other. Not angry, but each trying to swallow our own fears. I feared becoming smaller. Noah feared losing me in a slow, quiet way. A few days later, I took 3 weeks off. The decision made me tremble, as if I'd just stepped off an escalator I'd been on too long. The first days off, I didn't know what to do. I woke up early out of habit, then sat staring at the clock. Drank coffee without opening emails. Walked around the neighborhood during work hours, feeling like I was skipping school. Noah went to work. I was home alone. And in those silences, I started hearing things I'd avoided for years. Loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from getting used to disappearing from yourself. One afternoon, I lay sprawled on the sofa, hand on my chest, and realized my heart was racing, just because I was doing nothing. That evening, when Noah came home, I said, "I'm not good at this." Noah took off his coat. "At what?" "At resting," I replied. "I feel guilty when not busy." Noah came over, sat in front of me. "You know, I love you most when you're not trying to be someone else." I looked at him. "Even when I'm just a tired man who doesn't know where he's going?" Noah rested his forehead against mine. "Especially then." That moment my eyes stung, not from sadness, but from being allowed to let go. The days after, I started doing very small things without clear achievements. Cooking slowly, listening to old music, writing a few journal lines no one would read. And one thing I didn't expect, desire. Not the youthful, impulsive sexual desire, but the desire to touch, to feel I'm still alive in this body. One evening, while Noah was reading in bed, I came over, sat next to him. "Noah," I called. He looked up. "What?" "I don't want to disappear from you," I said. "But I don't want to just exist either." Noah set the book down. His eyes softened. The eyes of someone who understood this was a plea, not a demand. He pulled me close. Not rushed, not urgent. Just a hug long enough for me to breathe slower. "Intimacy at this age," Noah whispered, "isn't to prove we're still young. It's to remind each other we're still here." We made love that night, slow, clumsy. Not perfect. No need to perform. Just two bodies that have gone through many years, choosing to touch not out of lack, but out of trust. Afterward, we lay side by side, sweat drying, heartbeats returning to normal. I'm still tired, I said. Noah kissed my forehead. I know, but I don't feel alone in that tiredness anymore. Noah squeezed my hand. That's enough for today. Midlife doesn't give you quick answers. It gives you opportunities to be more honest about what you can't endure anymore. And I started to understand. The hardest part isn't aging. It's learning to be loved when you can't strain anymore. After 3 weeks off, I returned to work, but not like before. I worked fewer hours. No extra projects. No pretending I could carry everything. On paper, it was a reasonable compromise. Inside, it felt like admitting a very quiet failure. Some mornings, I sat in the car in the parking lot, hands on the wheel, needing a few minutes to tell myself, you still have a right to be here. Midlife teaches you a bitter lesson. There are things you used to be great at until your body and mind both say enough. I'm no longer great at enduring. No longer great at pleasing everyone. No longer great at pretending everything just needs a little more effort. And that, strangely, scares me more than exhaustion. One evening, Noah and I sat in the living room, each with a glass of wine. TV on, but no one watching. Do you feel like you're falling behind? I asked very softly. Noah turned. Behind who? Behind yourself before, I replied. Behind the man who could do 10 things at once without gasping. Noah sipped his wine. I don't remember you like that. I frowned. What do you mean? I remember you as the one who stayed up late worrying, Noah said. Always tense like a string. If that's the better version, I'm not sure I want to go back. That sentence left me silent. Maybe I'd confused being good with being accustomed. We don't argue as much as before. Not because things are easier, but because we're both tired of proving we're right. Instead, we learn to say very honest things. Today, I don't have the strength. I need you here, but I don't know how. I love you, but I'm not okay. Those sentences aren't romantic, but they're real. And at this age, real is a deeper form of intimacy than touch. One Sunday afternoon, Noah suggested, how about we try counseling? I looked at him, a bit shocked, but defensive by instinct. You think we have problems? I asked. Noah shook his head. I think we have too many years, and I don't want them to become a burden. We found a couples therapist. A middle-aged woman, low voice, non-judgmental. In the small counseling room, I sat across from Noah and realized something funny. I'd never really talked about my tiredness with a third person. I feel like I'm disappearing, I said in the first session. Not from the relationship, but from myself. The therapist nodded. Do you allow yourself to grieve? That question choked me up. I think I don't have the right, I replied. I have too many good things to grieve. Noah took my hand, squeezed lightly. Grief isn't comparison, the therapist said. It's a signal. Leaving the session, I felt exhausted in a different way, lighter, but more exposed. The weeks after, we talked more about things we'd avoided. About how I fear becoming a burden. About how Noah fears waking up one day and finding I've left from the inside. About sex, which isn't as regular, isn't as natural as before, and carries too much silence. I'm not always in the mood, I admitted one evening, and that makes me feel guilty. Noah looked at me for a long time. I don't need you to always be in the mood. I need you to be honest when you are. We learn to touch each other not to reach an end, just to start again. Sometimes just lying side by side, hand on back, breathing in sync. Sometimes long kisses, unhurried, as if checking if the other is still there. Intimacy in midlife is like that. Less noise, more feeling, and a lot of permission. One late evening, while I was washing dishes, Noah stood behind me, arms around my waist. Said nothing, just stood there. Do you remember how it felt when we first fell in love? I asked. Noah chuckled softly. Yes, but I don't crave it anymore. Why? Because now, Noah said, chin on my shoulder. I don't have to worry you'll run away. I just need to worry if you're sleeping enough. I laughed. Tired laugh, but real. Midlife doesn't give you the feeling of being chosen every day. It gives you the feeling of having chosen, and now you have to learn to live kindly with that choice. I'm still tired. Still have days I want to disappear under the blankets and answer no one. But I start learning something new, harder than everything before. Accepting that there are things I'm no longer good at doesn't mean I'm lesser. It just means I'm becoming someone else. And if I'm lucky, I don't have to become that person alone. There's a truth no one tells you when you're young. Not everything can be saved by love. Some mornings I wake up with a very strange emptiness. Not sad, not panicked, just no energy to care. As if a part inside me has automatically shut off to preserve the rest. I still go to work, still smile at colleagues, still reply to emails with polite words. But deep inside, I know I'm living on inertia. No one notices it through small details. I stop telling him about my workday, stop complaining, even stop the tired jokes I used to use to soothe myself. One evening, during dinner, Noah set down his fork. "Where are you?" he asked. I looked up. "Right here." Noah shook his head.
No.
I mean, inside. I couldn't answer. Not because I didn't want to, but because I really didn't know. There are forms of exhaustion that aren't noisy. It doesn't make you collapse. It makes you fade. Another evening, after a couple's session, Noah said as we drove home,
I'm scared.
"Why?" I asked. "I'm scared I'm loving someone I can't reach," Noah said. "Not because you won't let me, but because you're not there to let." That sentence made my grip tighten on the wheel. "I don't mean to," I said. "I just don't know how to come back." Noah nodded. "I know, and that's the scary part." We didn't argue, but the distance between us wasn't fatigue anymore. It was helplessness. Love is good at many things. Keeping people staying, soothing fears, giving a reason to try a little more. But it's not good at healing things you've neglected for too long. One night, I lay alone in the living room. Noah slept in the bedroom. Not because of anger, but because I said I needed space. In the darkness, I thought about all the roles I've played throughout life. The good child, the striving student, the reliable employee, the steady lover. And I suddenly realized, I've never learned how to be someone not okay and still allowed to exist. The next morning, I told Noah something I'd avoided for a long time. I think I need individual therapy. Noah wasn't surprised. Just exhaled. A breath both light and sad. "I'm glad you said it," he replied. "I can't do that for you." I nodded. "I know. And I'm sorry for expecting you to." The individual therapy sessions started with very simple questions, and answers that took me days to digest. What do you fear most if you stop? Who do you think you'll become if you're no longer useful? Do you remember the last time you did something just because you wanted to? I didn't have immediate answers, but each session, I felt like I was digging down, not to find causes, but to find presence again. During that time, Noah learned to step back. Not push, not ask too much, not try to pull me out of the dark. He was still there cooking, doing laundry, leaving small notes on the table. Drink water. Home late. Love you. Very everyday things. And very needed. But there's another truth midlife forces you to face. Loving someone doesn't mean you'll walk at the same pace. One evening, Noah said as we sat on the porch, "If there comes a time I see you're going too far, do I have the right to call you back?" I looked at him. "Yes, but you also have to give me the right not to come back right away." Noah nodded. "I just need to know you're not leaving." I placed my hand on his. "I promise. I'm just learning how not to disappear." During that period, we were less intimate. Not because love ended, but because my body didn't respond the old way. Sometimes Noah touched me, and I had to whisper, "Not today." Noah didn't show disappointment, but I still saw his eyes darken for a moment. A very human moment. "I still want you," Noah said once, "but I don't want you to feel like you owe me with your body." That sentence made me cry, for the first time in years. Not from pain, but from permission. Midlife is when you understand that some things can't be saved by love, but some things can only be kept if both accept. Not saving, except standing beside. Accept waiting. Accept that the person you love is on a journey you can't replace. I don't know who I'll become after all this. I only know one thing more certainly than ever. If I stay, it's not because I'm strong, but because for the first time in life, I'm learning to live without needing to prove anything. Therapy doesn't make me better in the way people often tell.
No brillan. Moment.
No day waking up and everything feels light. It's like learning to walk again after an injury you've carried too long. Each step slow, and sometimes painful enough to wonder, am I doing this right? But there's a very clear change. I start noticing where I am. I notice when I'm tired, not after I've collapsed. Notice when I'm trying to please instead of really wanting. Notice when my silence isn't calm, but from fear that speaking will break more. Noah notices that change before I do. One evening, he said as we folded laundry together, "You're different." I looked up. How? Noah thought for a bit. "You're disappearing less." That sentence stopped me. Not because it was sad, but because it was so true I couldn't deny it. Staying isn't standing still. Staying is allowing yourself to change, even when that change makes others adjust. That wasn't easy for Noah. Some days I need silence for hours. Some evenings I talk too much, as if trying to pour out long repressed thoughts. Sometimes I don't want touch, and sometimes I need Noah very close, very real. We had to relearn each other's language. "What do you need?" Noah asked me more often, and I had to learn to answer without shame. Space. A hug. Don't ask more. Just be here. Short words, but a new form of intimacy. One Saturday afternoon, Noah invited me for a walk around the neighborhood. No purpose, no destination. We walked slowly, like two people no longer in a hurry. "Do you remember when we were long distance?" Noah asked. "Yes," I replied. "Why suddenly ask?" Noah smiled faintly. "I think we're loving each other in a similar way now." I turned to look at him. "What do you mean?" "Not touching much," Noah said, "but having to choose each other very consciously." That sentence stayed with me for a long time. One night, after a tough therapy session, I came home very late. Noah was sitting in the living room, yellow light, TV off. "I was worried," he said as soon as he saw me. "I know," I replied, and this time I didn't avoid. I sat down next to him. "I'm worried too," I said. "I'm worried if I change too much, you won't recognize me anymore." Noah looked at me for a long time. "Do you think I love you because you're a fixed version?" he asked. I didn't answer. Noah placed his hand on my chest. "I love you because you dare to stay, even when you're falling apart and reassembling." I closed my eyes. That feeling of being seen while incomplete made me tremble. That night we were intimate. No script. Not to prove everything was okay. Just a very long kiss. A slow hand. Breaths merging. I didn't need to be strong. Noah didn't need to lead. We just needed to be honest. Afterward, I lay in Noah's arms, feeling the fatigue still there, but no longer alone. Sometimes I think, I whispered, if I don't get through this phase. Noah squeezed my hand. Then we'll go slower. And if I don't come back like before? Noah smiled very lightly. I didn't love before. That sentence, very simple, was what kept me in the days after. I started adjusting work. Not quitting everything, but setting boundaries. Some people weren't happy. Some disappointed. But for the first time, I didn't let that define me. I started doing small things just because I wanted. Learning a new recipe. Sitting doodling even if not good at drawing. Listening to old 90s music I once loved. And one unexpected thing. I started wanting Noah more. Not in an impulsive instinct way, but a desire to share, to let him see where I am in this journey. One evening, I told Noah, I don't know who I'll become after all this. Noah nodded. Me neither. I looked at him. Are you scared? Noah smiled. The smile of someone who's chosen to stay through many fears. Scared, but not enough to leave. Midlife doesn't give you certainty. It gives you a choice repeated every day. Stay not out of duty, but because after all the fatigue, you still want to return to the same person. And I realized, staying isn't standing still. Staying is continuing, though slow, though trembling, but without turning back. One morning, I woke up earlier than Noah. California sunlight filtered through the curtains. Not harsh, not golden bright. Just enough to see dust floating slowly in the air. Noah was still asleep. One hand on the empty spot where I usually lie, as if his body was used to me being there. I stood in the kitchen brewing coffee. No phone.
No checking emails.
My heart beat slow. Not joyful, but calm. I suddenly realized something a bit scary. I no longer used love as a place to escape. Before, whenever tired, I dove into Noah. Into the feeling of being held. Into the certainty that someone still chooses me. Now it's different. I still love Noah. A lot. But I no longer need him to escape from myself. That change makes our relationship more exposed. Small conflicts no longer hidden by passion or fear of loss. They appear very everyday. Like Noah wanting to move to a quieter neighborhood. While I'm not ready to leave the center, where work, the pace, and what I've built are still there. We don't argue fiercely. Just long conversations, sometimes more tiring than arguing. What are you afraid of? Noah asked me in one such time. I was silent for a long time, then said honestly, I'm afraid if I slow down too much, I'll disappear. Noah leaned back in the chair. And I'm afraid if I don't slow down, I won't have time to live. Those two fears don't contradict, but they pull in different directions. Midlife doesn't give you dramatic conflicts like when young. It gives you choices all reasonable and thus more painful. We took weeks to not avoid that conversation. Some evenings eating together without much talk. Some mornings greeting lightly, as if both thinking separately. But no one left. One night Noah said, I don't need you to choose right away. I looked at him. Then what do you need? Honesty, Noah replied. Even if that honesty says you're not ready yet. That sentence let me breathe. I started talking more. I talked about the fear of becoming invisible in a world always running. I talked about attaching self-worth to performance for so many years. I talked about the guilt when thinking of wanting less pressure, less proving, less than what I once thought was success. Noah didn't correct me, didn't comfort with everything will be fine. He just sat there, listened, hand on my thigh. Intimacy at this age isn't in the flesh. It's in daring to let the other see the unresolved parts. Another evening, Noah talked about his fatigue. Tired of always being the stable one. Tired of fearing if he breaks too. No one will keep the rhythm for both. I listened, and for the first time I didn't see myself as a burden. I saw myself as half of a system needing adjustment. We didn't solve everything, but we reframed the questions better. Not who has to sacrifice, but how to ensure no one disappears. One weekend we drove to the sea, not to decide anything, just to get out of the familiar house. We walked along the sand. Strong wind. Gray sky. Not postcard at all. Noah held my hand, tighter than usual. I don't need a perfect version of you, he said. I just need you to still be here. I squeezed his hand back. I'm here, I said. And this time I believed myself. That night, in a simple motel room, we were close. Not hurried. Not to forget problems. Just to remind each other that, despite fatigue, despite changing, we still choose each other. And as I lay next to Noah, hearing distant waves, I understood. Love is no longer a place to escape. It's a place to stand and face life straight with another person. The truth is, I won't go back to being the ambitious, always running, always proving person like before. The truth is, Noah is no longer the one ready to bend to every change of mine. And the final truth, if we continue, it has to be a different way. We talked a lot in the weeks after. Not in a destiny or what in 10 years way. Just very everyday questions. How much money do we need to live without depleting? How much personal space to not suffocate? When do we need the other and when not? Some answers didn't match. But for the first time, we didn't try to make them match. But each evening coming home, we still had energy to look at each other. One night, lying in bed, Noah asked, Do you regret it? Regret what? For not becoming what you once thought you had to be. I thought long, then answered, I regret spending many years not asking if I was living. Noah turned toward me. We touched foreheads.
No quis.
Just touch. So now? He asked. Now, I said. I want a life where when tired, I'm allowed to say I'm tired. We didn't marry right away. Didn't move right away. Didn't announce any big decision to the world. We just continued living, but with a different rhythm. Some days I still feel empty. Some days Noah is irritable over small things. But no one disappears. Our intimacy changed. Less explosive. More touches that lead nowhere. A hand on the back when passing. A short kiss before leaving the house. A night just holding each other to sleep, no more needed. I once thought love had to save me from fatigue. Now I understand. Love just needs to stay when fatigue happens. One Sunday afternoon, we sat on the balcony. Calm sky. City below still noisy, but not invading here. Noah said, if one day you don't want to continue anymore. I turned to look at him. Then at least tell me before you disappear. Noah continued. I nodded. I promise. Then I asked back, if one day you feel this life isn't enough for you. Noah didn't hesitate. Then I'll tell too. We didn't promise eternal happiness. Just promised not to leave in silence. And perhaps that's the most mature form of love. Midlife taught me that not everyone who stays does so because they love like before. Some stay because they've loved deeply enough to change how they love. I'm still tired. Noah is still tired. But each night when the lights go out, I know there's someone lying beside. Not to complete me, but to live on with me in this imperfect state. And like that, it's enough.